Hello, my name's Mark. I'm a peer support worker at Together in a Crisis, and this is a recorded session of our online wellbeing session on confidence and coping. This usually takes place in a group on Zoom. I'm guessing if you're watching this, then for whatever reason you were unable to make that, and that's fine. Thank you for joining us to go through the main points of the session, which will tie into the resource pack that comes along with it. So we looked at confidence and coping and thought it was useful, first of all, to have a look at what they mean to us. And what we came up with for confidence really is it's about having faith in belief in yourself and in your ability to do things. And coping is, I guess, the ability to face every day, to face difficult situations and to be able to come through them in a healthy manner. So they tie in quite well to each other. The better we cope, the more confidence we have in ourselves, and the more kind of evidence we have that we're able to manage difficult situations. So we're going to have a look through a few different tools and a few different ideas, like I say, that are featured in the resource pack as well. So starting with confidence, we looked at the cycle of self-esteem. This is a really useful tool to kind of reflect on ourselves and how we deal with situations, and to kind of identify why we might have certain feelings, from certain situations. So in any kind of scenario, we exhibit certain behaviors. So how we interact with each other, how we perform in our job, and we have success or lack of success in those areas. And that has a knock-on effect to our self-esteem. Our self-esteem feeds into our emotions, so we can have positive or negative feelings depending on the kind of levels of self-esteem that we're feeling. And those feelings feed into our confidence level, and that confidence level feeds back into the behaviors. So if I think that nobody's going to watch this video and anyone who does is going to switch it off after a minute, then I'm not going to come across very confidently, because I'm not going to have any belief in myself, or I'm not going to think that anyone else has any belief in me. So I'm, as a result, going to do a worse job, or I might give up, I might not bother in the first place, or I might just not really put a lot of effort into it. And then as a result, then nobody will watch the video and I won't get any feedback, and I will see that I've had a lack of success. And then that's going to reduce my self-esteem. It's going to lead to negative feelings, and then it means that I'm going to have a reduced confidence level next time I go to do a similar task. So all these things kind of feed into each other, and a really useful way of kind of breaking this cycle is to remember times that we've had success. So sometimes things can seem quite out of reach or unrealistic. It can be really useful, if that's the case, to think back to times when we have been successful or where we have done things well, and remember that we are capable of that, and we can use those historic successes to feed into our self-esteem. So it might feel like a long time since we've done anything well, but I'm sure if you look back far enough, or look into certain areas of your life, you'll find evidence that you have. And we can use that to feed our self-esteem and to generate some positive feelings and some confidence. A really good kind of addition to this, and a really useful tool to remember, this is one of my favorite things, is putting thoughts on trial. And this is a really simple but really effective way of challenging thoughts that we have. We get a lot of negative thoughts pop into our head in all kinds of situations. We could be going about our day or walking down the street, and we'll get a negative thought come in that we don't necessarily want or agree with, and it can have a big knock-on effect to other areas. So this thoughts on trial is the concept of, I guess, not believing everything you think, and challenging thoughts when they come in, and thinking, okay, is this real, or is it just a thought, or is it a fact? So we do often tend to believe our thoughts. So if we say something negative about ourselves, we'll tend to believe that it's true. That's why it's important to challenge them. You know, the example here is, if I believe I'm a giraffe, does that make me a giraffe? Of course it doesn't. But that's the concept of, just because we've thought something doesn't mean it's true. So when we judge ourselves critically, we need to decide, can we back that up with a fact? If I say I'm no good at this, or nobody likes us, or I may as well not bother going out today because I'm not going to have fun, I'm not going to enjoy myself. We need to look for facts to back up those statements, and if we can't find them, then we can say that, well, maybe they're not true, and maybe our situation's a bit more positive than what that thought will have us believe. So nobody likes me, I can't do anything right. These are pretty common thoughts that people might have, that we can challenge. And really, it's about pausing when you get those thoughts, and taking time to reflect on them and look for the evidence as if you would in a courtroom. So nobody likes me. How do I know that? Has anybody told me that they don't like us? Have all of my friends texted us and said we don't like you anymore? Um, or is it just something we think because maybe someone hasn't replied to a text message, or we haven't spoke to anyone for a while, or we're feeling a bit down in ourselves because we looked in the mirror this morning and the thing that looked back wasn't there, wasn't what we wanted. Um, so challenging these thoughts, why are we having them, and is there any truth to them? Going back to the giraffe analogy, the concept of this is, really, if you want to prove something is true, you can find evidence for it. So if I believed I was a giraffe, I would say, well, I'm quite tall. I like to eat leaves. I eat a lot of salad now these days. Um, I like being outdoors. I like the sunshine. I've got long legs. So I could say, well, I must be a giraffe because I've got these 4 or 5 things that I've just listed in common. And obviously I'm not, but the point is, if you want to believe nobody likes you, or if you want to believe you're no good, you can invent evidence for it. And your brain can invent these thoughts that looks like evidence. But actually, when we challenge that evidence, we challenge that thought, we realize that there isn't any truth in it. So it's a really useful process when we have a thought that we don't like, or a thought that gives us negative feelings, just to stop and reflect and to challenge it. Which kind of ties in quite well to the idea of positive qualities. One of the reasons we often get negative thoughts is because of a lack of confidence or a lack of self-esteem, and too much focus on negative qualities that we have, or negative qualities that we believe we have. And actually, we should be a bit kinder to ourselves. I always say, if I have a negative thought, I always say, well, would I say that to my friend, or would I say that to someone in my family? And the answer is always no, because I say some really awful things to myself in my head. I really beat myself up and put myself down, and there's no way on earth that I would say those things to someone that I cared about, because I care about them. And you say nice things to people you care about, and you try and build them up, and we're too quick to be negative towards ourselves. So we should try treating ourselves the way we treat other people. So if you find yourself talking to yourself negatively, think, well, would I say that to someone else? And if the answer is no, we'll say, okay, well, I'm not going to say it to myself then, because that's not kind and it's not fair. And if someone said that to me, um, then then I probably wouldn't want to talk to them anymore. So we can focus on our positive qualities and challenge the negative ones. So some positive qualities. Um, you are watching this video, you've engaged in the service, you're having a look at the resources, So you have taken responsibility for your own well-being. You I don't know who was watching this, but I'm sure that you can come up with some positive qualities that you have, or that people have told you that you've got. And I think people are often kind of embarrassed or, a bit shy to look at their positive qualities, or we feel like, we should be more modest. But I have changed my mind on that, and I disagree. And I think that we should be kind to ourselves, and we should give ourselves a bit of positivity because, well, why the hell not? We deserve it, and we would do it for other people. So it's really important if we do something kind for someone, if we reach out to someone, if we give to charity, if we, you know, pick up something on the street and give it back to someone, or, whatever it is. Um, Even if we just think positive thoughts towards someone, that we recognize the positive things we're doing and that we tell ourselves and remind ourselves and give ourselves some positive talk. And that can help us to build confidence. And you can even take it a step further and keep a positive qualities journal. So things that you did when you had fun, things that you did well, things that make you feel proud, things you've accomplished. You might not want to put too much pressure on. This has got 3 things a day, which might feel like a lot. You can do it 3 things a week or 1 thing a day, or however you want to kind of record it. But it is really useful to note these things down, or to keep some kind of journal, or even just saying it in your head. You can get to the end of the day before you go to bed and think back to positive times that day or good things that you've done, whether it's cleaning up or texting someone you haven't spoke to, or doing the shopping, or whatever it is. Reflecting on the fact that you've done positive things and you've exhibited positive qualities. It's a really useful thing just to cement those ideas in our head that we do have good things about us and we are doing well in certain areas. So however you want to approach it, whether it's writing it down or thinking about it, or talking about it to someone, it's important that we recognize and acknowledge the positive things that we do when we do them. Because remember, we recognize the negative things very quickly when we do them, and we spend a lot of time thinking about them. So let's try and balance it out a bit and spend less time on the negative things that we do and more time on the positive things we do. So this concept here of building mastery ties into confidence. So when everything feels overwhelming or chaotic, it can be easy to lose confidence and become overwhelmed by day-to-day tasks. By identifying tasks you know you can achieve well, you can build confidence to tackle larger or more difficult perceived tasks. This is called building mastery. So doing things that we're good at, doing things we know we can achieve, as a way of proving to ourselves that we are capable of doing things. So for example, if you've got a whole house to clean, that could feel daunting and you might feel negative to yourself because it feels like a huge job. But if we break the tasks down and start with the things that we're good at, completing it fully, giving it your all, we'll feel good about ourselves, and then it'll give us confidence going into the next task. So the example here of the house is a mess, I'm hopeless, this is one that I think we can all identify with. Things pile up pretty quickly, and then all of a sudden you think, oh, I've got all this to do and I've got no idea where to start, and then it can just get left and left and left. So breaking it down and thinking, okay, what task can I do successfully? What am I good at? Which one can I kind of tick off the list straight away and gain that confidence? And in this example, is take the dog for a walk. So take it out, get some fresh air, some exercise, and then value what you've done and give yourself thanks, as the dog is probably thanking you for the walk, and tell yourself you've successfully completed a task and you've ticked it off and you've got a bit of confidence, and then you can move on to the next one with that momentum, and you can build on that positivity and go on to the example here is a small selection of clothes and do your ironing. Not that there's much ironing going on in the pandemic, probably. I know I haven't been ironing nearly as much as used to now that I don't leave the house, but the idea is you do one thing that you're good at, one thing that you're a master at, and then use that confidence and that positivity and that evidence that you are capable, and then bring that into the next task. And that's not to say that once you start one, you're going to do the whole house in a week. You can space it out over time, but it's just reminding yourself when you have completed a task that you've done it and that you're capable, giving yourself that positive talk. So, coping is the next part. So there's two different things we've looked at for coping. So one is to look after ourselves, look after our body and our mind, and the other one is to plan ahead. So we'll look at each one of those in a little bit of detail. So coping by looking after ourselves is the strong body, strong mind idea. And these are a few tips just for leading a healthy and balanced life. And in doing that, it gives us the energy and the resilience to cope. So getting the right amount of sleep, taking care of your physical health, that's really important when we talk about achieving those goals and staying on top of things, being physically healthy and doing a bit of exercise or getting a bit of movement is really important because it helps us to tick off those tasks like we talked about. Resist using drugs and alcohol. Do something once a day that makes you feel like a master. So that's again about confidence building and giving yourself that evidence that you are capable of doing things. Nutrition, so eating a healthy, balanced diet and getting exercise every day. So these are all really important things to help us cope. And what you'll find is if you can build up the habit of incorporating these things into your kind of daily routine, that you will eventually kind of build up a lot more resilience. So I think this can seem like quite a big list. If you're not doing any of these things, you might be doing one or two of them. You might not be doing any of them. So depending on kind of where you're at, it might be a good idea to choose one or two and think, okay, which one of these can I make a change in now? Which one can I make a start on? And set yourself some goals. Take a step by step, take a small achievable task to reach one of these goals, and then that just gives you a platform to build on. And you will find that if you can do one, it'll have a knock-on effect to a lot of the others. So I always find that if I don't get much sleep one night, then my nutrition will go out the window and I'll be craving some unhealthy food, and then I'll probably have a big greasy breakfast, and then I'll probably won't do any exercise because I'll be feeling tired from that. And then that'll kind of lead on to the rest of the day where I'll be feeling sluggish and I won't really feel like doing anything. And then I'll probably just end up ordering a takeaway in the evening just to make it worse. It works the same kind of the other way around. If you use alcohol, then chances are you're not going to be doing any exercise the next day. You're not going to be doing anything that makes you feel like a master because you're just going to be kind of scraping through the day. So they're all kind of interlinked, and you'll notice that if you can get one or two of them right, then the other ones will start to fall into place around that as well. So if you are feeling like this looks like a bit of a mountain to climb, just try and focus on the one or two that you feel is the most achievable from where you're at now, and focus on that, and then get that confidence and that positivity from tackling that. The other idea of coping is about coping ahead of time. So this is a brilliant thing to remember, and I use it all the time because however kind of well we're coping or however many things we have in place to protect our well-being, there's always triggers or stresses that come up in the future. Life is full of stressful situations or difficult times, and there's no avoiding that. So we can't kind of control that, but what we can control is how we cope with it and how we prepare. So coping ahead of time is a really useful skill to have in your toolbox for when a difficult time is coming up, or when there's something stressful that's about to happen, or some kind of change that you're worried about, and just making ourselves mentally well prepared for it so that it doesn't turn into a setback. So 5 simple steps that can be done in our mind: describing the situation that causes the stress, deciding which skills you'll use to cope, what has worked in the past, and our positive qualities. Imagine the situation happening, how it might make you feel, and how you can change that. So remembering your skills and your positive qualities, and you can rehearse coping. So how you use your skills, how they might change the way you feel, and change what skills you use, and then some relaxation afterwards. So some mindfulness, or take a bubble bath, or play the flute, or whatever it is. Playing the flute's not relaxing for me. I don't think. I'm not musical. Just upset the neighbours. So an example could be for like a job interview. So I've got a job interview coming up, and the first step, well, the situation causes stress because there's a lot of pressure to get the job. I really want it, and I've been out of work for a long time, so there's a lot of pressure there. So the skills to help cope is that I'll probably walk to the interview. I'll probably leave early so I can have a nice relaxing walk there, because I know that walking helps me cope, being outside helps me to cope. So that when I get there, I'll be nice and calm and nice and relaxed. And I'll also remember for this kind of third part of the situation happening that I do have the experience for the job, and they have offered me the interview, so they must think that I'm a good candidate, because otherwise they wouldn't have invited us to the interview. So actually, I do have the positive qualities and the skills that they're looking for. So even if the interview was a difficult interview, um, I do have the skills for it. So as long as I can remain calm, I should be able to get that across. And then obviously I can think about what goes wrong. If it goes badly, if I fluff my lines, how am I going to react? How am I going to cope? And what am I going to do afterwards? And thinking about afterwards, when you come out, if you think it hasn't gone well, what are you going to want to do, and what should you do instead? So you might think, oh, okay, well, I'll go to the shop and buy some cigarettes, or something like that would probably be mine, if it doesn't go well. But instead of doing that, I'm going to put my music on and walk home and not go to the shop. And that'll be a better coping method. So you're predicting the stress, and you're predicting the situation, and you're figuring out what you would do to handle that situation when it comes up. And that can be very, very useful. It just gives us that practice in coping. And it also gives you a bit more confidence in those situations, because you know that if it does go wrong, you've prepared for how you're going to cope with it. So actually, it does help you relax into it as well. And that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching it all the way through to here, and unless you skip to the end. And this is just a summary of what's in the resource packs. So on the left hand side, these are the worksheets and the tools that will come out. So the positive self-talk and coping worksheet, self-esteem journal, putting thoughts on trial, positive qualities record, the healthy body, healthy mind, and then just some positive psychology prompt cards. So just kind of the main tools that we've talked about in the session today. So I hope you found that useful. Thank you very much for watching and take care. Okay, bye.